become my new best friend. Just small sips, not all doses. Let's get started with a fisherman's friend. I have to do all this so that I can actually talk. Well, I have another update. It's not necessarily good news. It's just an update though. Catch my breath still. I'm trying not to use my oxygen. My O2 is good. They say my oxygen actually, it's okay for me to use. It makes me feel better mentally. But my sats, my oxygen saturation does show that I'm good. When your hemoglobin gets a little bit low, those numbers can still look good even though you're low in oxygen, but they said I'm okay. So we'll go with that. I still sleep with it on just because I breathe differently when I sleep. My O2 normally goes down some, so it's recommended that I do. It will wake me up if I don't, even if my oxygen falls off after a little bit. Your body knows it needs something to wake yourself up. Get ahead of myself here. Saturday night, it's been about a week or so, 2 weeks now, since my first chemo treatment. I'm doing really well. Even my hemoglobin levels they're 11.8. Minimum should be about 13. But I've been told that for someone receiving chemo, those are really excellent numbers. So at least I have that. Saturday night, I was in my room here, which I want to kind of make a separate video for this, for the room. But Saturday night, I was in my room. About 10 o'clock, I went up to go to the bathroom, which is the master bedroom is just the room next door. So I walked maybe 20 feet in the bathroom and came back. I was exhausted. I was panting, was out of breath. Checked my heart rate. It was 187. That was with the pulse ox. I have two different pulse oxes, one with a lanyard on it that I carry with me when I go out, another one that stays by my chair, so that way I have always access to it in the middle of the night. I try to do that so that way I'm never without something that I need. That I need. That also said 187. Check my BP monitor. Took my blood pressure. My blood pressure was okay. My diastolic was a little high, but it's a whole monitoring system. Every time I go to the doctors, it's fine. So I just kind of deal with that number. But it said my heart rate was high as well. Also checked through my Apple Watch. I checked both the ECC and the ECG in here, and as far as the heart rate, and there again, everything was high. I physically felt my neck, and when I did for pulse, I didn't have a stethoscope at the time. I do now. When I felt my pulse, it felt like it was very rapid, like bum 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 bum, and then like a 2-second pause, and then like bum bum, and that was my heart rate. So what I kind of determined is that my heart rate wasn't racing constantly or consistently. What was happening is because my pulse oxes and some of the stuff I was taking quick readings, they were taking a couple second snapshot of my current heart rate and then calculating that out per minute. So if it was really rapid at the moment, 187, and then if it was really slow, then it was like 60. Because after a while I noticed they'd do that. They'd be 176, 90, 152, 180, 60, 88. It was just, they were all over the place. So, which would be aFib. I started to stay very still. I decided it was time to just go to bed. And I do still sleep in a recliner because it's harder for me to lay down. So I got in the recliner. It would come down, but even if I would lift my even arm to send a text, they would just shoot right back up. I eventually did fall asleep. It did come down enough that I was able to fall asleep. I was surprised that I didn't start getting anxiety, just from, my heart's racing and everything else. For some reason I did, and I was able to keep my composure. The next morning I woke up and actually I felt pretty good. I just assumed that I had a bad day. Something I ate, whatever. I've been watching what I eat, including my sodium intake. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I miscalculated. I didn't know. Or maybe just a bad day for a chemo reaction. I wasn't sure. Sunday night, then I went to bed. I was okay. I may have had one time during the day when it went up really high. The only thing I wasn't doing though is I wasn't doing any activities. I made sure that I wasn't going for my walks and whatnot. If it's really going high, the last thing I want to do is antagonize it. So I avoided all my stuff. I just kind of relaxed for the day. Monday morning, I woke up around about 8:30. My wife brought me breakfast. I had a very light breakfast. I ate. Excuse me. I ate, and I fell right back to sleep. And I slept till noon. And then she came in with lunch. And when I woke up, I take my medicine at 8, noon, 6, and midnight. So when she came in at noon, it was also time for me to take my meds, and I also check all my vitals and stuff at that time. My temperature, my ECG, my blood pressure, my oxygen levels. I check everything. In the morning, I check my weight. That's the only time I do that the rest of the day. But I shouldn't say that. In the morning, when I check my weight, it's a slew of stuff: body fats, water levels. Bone densities, the whole 9 yards. I check in the morning. During the day, I don't recheck that stuff, just because they're not going to fluctuate enough as other vitals would. When I checked after she woke me up, and I just came out of a sleep now again, and my heart rate was 167, and I didn't do anything. So I called the doctors, I called oncology, and let them know, because I didn't know if these were reactions from my immunotherapy or the chemo or whatnot. I figured I'd let them decide. They scheduled an appointment for the next morning, and I did go in. When I went in Tuesday morning, they decided they wanted to send me for an EKG. They wanted to send me for a CT scan, just to make sure I didn't have additional blood clots forming. They asked me if I felt it like it was before, and I said no. It was a totally different feeling from before. They also had seen that I had been on beta blockers before, which is kind of a high blood pressure, lower your heart rate kind of medicine. I was on them previously because my heart rate, the steroids that I've been on for almost a whole year, they increase your heart rate. My heart rate prior to medicines was always 60, 70 at rest, 70, 80 at activity. I had a really good heart rate. Well, now it was 100 to 137 with medicines. So after this length of time, my cardiologist that I met months ago said my heart was fantastic. He was not going to be my doctor because there was nothing for him to do. He put me on Holter monitors and everything, and there was no problems to find. But he did want me to put on the beta blocker to bring my heart rate down. And I did take it, but then I talked to him again, and we decided that I'd wean myself back off of it, only because I knew I'd be sooner, it won't be too long before I start coming off the steroids. And I wanted to know if after I came off the steroids, if that actually lowered, if my heart rate came down itself, I wanted to know it was from the steroids and not because of the medicine, the beta blocker I was taking. I figured if it stayed high, then we'd address that issue. Well, after I was off the steroids, it didn't come down, but then I had my blood clots. So they assumed that was why the heart rate stayed up high, because I wasn't getting enough oxygen, so my heart was making up the difference by beating faster. Well, then after all that's been said and done, and now I've been off the steroids for a while, my heart rate's still high, and now sporadically getting higher and out of rhythm. So they had, I left a message for them to if they could restart the beta blockers. And I also went in for a CT scan. Like I said, they decided just to make sure the blood clots weren't reforming. The EKG did show I was an aFib with a heart rate of 179. Now the heart rate again is not necessarily a consistent thing, it's because of the aFib. But still, it was a high heart rate. I let the cardiologist know that I was having aFib. You know, I'm not familiar with beta blockers. I wanted to make sure that that was still the same medicine or the same dose and whatnot that they wanted me on prior to giving it to me. So they checked with the cardiologist, and she called back. She said, "Yeah, same stuff, but we want to see you in 2 days in case we need to adjust it. Maybe we may need to bring it up a little bit more." Which I saw them today, and they did. They increased the dose. It brought it back down to a consistent 120, which they were happy with, but I wanted it a little bit lower. I'm going to be doing my walks and whatnot. I want to make sure that I'm not, I'm not pushing my heart. It's been pushed for a year now. I don't need additional problems. That Tuesday, after the CT scan and everything, I stopped by the medical supply place to pick up a humidifier. They're called bubblers for my oxygen unit to moisten the air that's going to me to maybe help with this. I'm thinking maybe this is getting dried out. You can see I can talk much more consistently without coughing as much. I take just a very small sip of NyQuil, and I mean just enough that there's enough to swallow. It coats my throat and eat a fisherman's friend. Matter of fact, I snap them in half to make them last longer, and I can talk usually with very little problems. I have to talk a little bit slower, and I can't take really deep breaths when I talk, but I'm still able to communicate with less interruption. So there is something with that. I just have to figure out what it is to help me get past this. I really still don't believe this is related to anything else going on. I think this is totally separate in my head. Anyway, on the way home after we picked that up, I got a call from oncology. I got a call from oncology concerning. I told her about what was happening with the beta blockers and everything, but she had called because the results from my CT scan were in. I do not have blood clots, but she said the CT scanner now is kind of the latest and greatest that I used. Gives them a lot more details and stuff they couldn't ever see before. And my cancer is on my pulmonary artery. The issue with that is the pulmonary artery, suppose it supplies blood to your lungs to be oxygenated. If it clamps down there, it's bad, like really bad, because of this. Now they said that maybe it was been like that the whole time. They don't know, maybe they just couldn't see it before. But because of this, she wants to set up an appointment with Hershey Med. I'm gonna get another cough drop. They're gonna set up an appointment with Hershey Med to see some radiation, a specialized radiation department, see if there's anything they can do, and also for the possibility of having a stent installed there to support that pulmonary artery to avoid it from collapsing or being clamped down, being pinched shut. Because obviously if there's no blood coming into my lungs to get oxygenated, that means I have no blood going out of my lungs with oxygen in it. Even as much as I'm breathing in, I can breathe and nothing's going to happen. So that's not the kind of news you want to hear. The benefit side is that at least we're already getting chemo treatments and being treated. Now that could have something to do then with everything else as far as, when I stand up or cough and stuff. Obviously the pulmonary artery is, in a direct relation to coughing and dizziness and stuff like that. So, it could or could not be related. I didn't have any problems until my heart started getting aFib. So I tended not to think that it would be, because otherwise it would have happened prior to that. I'm not a doctor. I'm just based off the information I know and how I feel. That's what I believe. The other thing is, for a while now, I don't know if I covered this in the video. I moved to a dedicated room. We had a spare room in the house, which, like I said, I'll go into details later on what happened and how my room's set up and why. But because of going to a separate room, I had thought that, I have air purifiers and all kind of stuff in here. I thought that maybe it was just affecting me different. Like sometimes my beard starts going, it just drives me crazy. Well, today when I went to leave and stuff like that, I went to kind of do my hair a little bit. I could just go like this, and like I can just, it's just hair. So instead of letting it just fall out naturally and having clumps here and there, missing whatever or not, I'm just gonna shave it off. And my beard's the same thing. I can pull on it, and it's just coming out in handfuls. So like I said, I'm not gonna leave it, just fall out like that. It's like I said, it'd be all patchy and weird. So I might as well just get ahead of the game and just take it out. So I don't know if I'm gonna shave it down completely, like shave, or just put the buzz clippers without a guard on it and take it down to like a the zero, like a really close on the side, and just let that little bit fall away, or actually just shave it. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll just do the one and then see if it gets spotty and then take care of it accordingly. But we'll see. So the next time you see me, if there's going to be there's going to be a real sudden change in my appearance. It was happening. I just sped it along a little bit. So those are, some of the things that were, that are going on and happening as far as all of this. So because the things are kind of moving along, next week on the September 10th is my next chemo treatment. So, I figure I'm going to start making some more videos, much faster. Keep recording, showing all the different things that I've going on, the equipment I use. Just, keeping everybody up to date and what's going on and what's involved. So anyway, that's the update. Sometimes when I find stuff out, I kind of wait a few days, only because some days I need time to process it myself, especially this last time. And then I usually notify, everybody, family and stuff first, and our pastor and whatnot, and then I need time, another day to kind of just process it, and then finally film it. I know that's even with when they called me about the CT scan, and I asked her when the Hershey appointment would be. She said she didn't have it yet because she wanted to make sure she talked to me first. The last thing she wanted to do was schedule an appointment or put an order in, and then they get a hold of me first, and I'm blindsided. So, and I appreciate that. That was, the hour difference of her, a couple hours, her talking to me or making an order, I'm sure can make a big difference with, when I'm seeing and the end results. Like I said, I'm on everything that they can do right now. The only option that I want to talk to somebody about is also gene therapy, which is some of the newer stuff like CRISPR. You can see some of that stuff on Netflix. You can look up a thing called, I think it's called unnatural selection. The un part's kind of like has a stripe through, so it's natural selection. Check it out. It's really some amazing stuff that they're doing. So that's my video for now. Next time you'll see a chubby Mr. Clean. See yous.